Hi, today in this video I'm going to show you how to use the SUMIF function. As usual, you can download the workbook in order to follow along my exercise. So you use the SUMIF function to sum the values in a range that meet criteria that you specify. In this example, I got a table with first name, civility, sales, period of time. And I want the summary sales for Pauline here. I'm going to show you first that it's still possible with the if function. You just need two steps in order to do it. So I'm going to type equal if. My logical test here is going to be, does the cell A2 contain the word Pauline? You don't have to use the uppercase. Excel don't mind. So if in the cell it says Pauline, you're going to display the result of the cell in C2. And if you don't see Pauline into it, you're gonna just display a message that say empty. So we use the double quote in order to do it. And I'm gonna close my if function. As you can see, it displayed the right numbers for the cell. If you copy it down, it sees the word Tina. So it don't display the cells, but actually the message with nothing. You can say, you're gonna see that it displayed the message that you want. But here I want to let it empty. So now I'm just gonna copy that down, and you're gonna see that every time I'm having Pauline into the list, it displayed the right sales here. Okay, so now if I want to sum the sales for Pauline, I just have to sum the whole column. Okay, so as you can see, it's working well, but the problem is that I have two steps to do in order to make it work. So we're gonna check if it's the correct number. You can still go into the number panel and put that into a currency to make it more clean. So with the SUMIF function, so you're gonna type equal SUMIF. So the first criteria is gonna be the range. So the range is gonna be the element that you want to check. Okay, this argument is required. It's the range of cell that you want evaluated by criteria. Okay, so in this case I want the element for Pauline, so I'm gonna check first the first column with the surname. Okay, the second element is going to be my criteria. So in this case, my criteria is going to be Pauline. So I'm going to type Pauline. But keep in mind that if it's a text, you have to set some double quote like this. Okay. And the last argument is just the element that I want to sum if my criteria is respected. Okay. So in this case, every time I see Pauline, I want to sum this element. So I'm going to press Ctrl or Shift and arrow down in order to have the same scheme, in order to the same length of the range. Okay, it's the only thing that it's really mandatory into this formula. You have to begin with the same line and end up with the same line in order to make it work. So you can see that it's exactly the same number. I'm gonna set that as a currency. So 43k for putting here. There is another way to do that. Most of the time people are making the mistake that setting a space in the word. Okay, so you're gonna see that the result is wrong there, because you really have to set up the same number of character into it. But that's not a problem if you use the upper or the lower case into it. Excel's still gonna understand it. So now let's do this with a list, okay, in order to avoid to reset the different elements and the different criteria into the formula every time. So first, I'm gonna set a list here. So we are going to go to data validation, and I'm gonna allow just a list. And my list is gonna be create with the first name that appear here. I have to go until Pauline here. I have set the data in order to just have the list, something like this. But you can also just use the unique function in order to avoid the double data into it. So now I got a list with my different sailor here. So now I just have to do my SUMIF function. My range still is going to be with the first name. Okay, but now for the criteria, I'm gonna select just the cell with the list here, okay, in I8. And now I'm just gonna select the range with the cells. So now that's okay. If I'm picking up another people onto the list, it's gonna show me different element that the cell, okay? So that's very convenient in order to the people to avoid mistake by mistyping the different elements. I'm just gonna go into the home menu, and in a number panel, I'm gonna put the currency here. So there is another way just to show you with the how to put the summary in a table with something like this. So it's going to be the same element. So Sumif, the range is still going to be this one, and my criteria is going to be set into the table here. So it's going to be this one, and then I want to sum the cells here. Okay, so now how to make it correct for the whole table. I just have to pay attention to why did I want to fix into it, because let's admit that I want to copy this. It seems that it's work, but finally you're gonna have a problem, because as you can see it respects the incrementation of the copy. So I just have to block what is necessary. So the first range is going to be blocked with F4, and as low the sum of range, because here when I'm gonna copy it, you're gonna see that Tina is gonna be in a different line, per line. So this is why I want to don't fix it, to let it as a relative cell reference. Okay, so I'm gonna copy it. We still got the same number, but because we are lucky with the structure of the table. So that was for the cell summary in the table. So be careful to fix this part, because in a big range of table you could have some trouble with it. So now if I had a new condition to it, in this example I want to again count the total sales for this kind of people, but as low I want to sum with a different period of time. So I'm going to set two different lists into it. So my first list is going to be done with the name, and the second list is going to be with the period of time. So first I'm going to go to data and data validation here, and I'm going to allow a list, and my list is going to be done with the name here until, let's see again, Pauline here. Okay, so I can have something like this, and for the period of time I'm gonna select morning, afternoon, and evening. So again, the data tool panel, data validation, I'm allowing a list, and the source of the list is gonna be something with this. Okay, so now I just have to do my SUMIF function with this multiple criteria here. So I've created something you're gonna see just after. So I'm gonna use the different function. The SUMIF function, it's a little bit different because is one of the mat and trig function that's gonna add all of its arguments that meet multiple criteria. So into our example, I got a name and a period of time. That's my two criteria. So as you can add the number of criteria that you want, you're going to begin a little bit differently. You're going to begin with the sum of range, the element that you want to sum into it. So I'm going to begin with the sale here. Okay, so now what I want to grab is the different kind of criteria on where did I'm going to grab this criteria. So my first criteria, it's going to be my criteria range. Okay, where did I'm going to find this information? So if I'm selecting the name first, I have to first select the range for the name. Okay, and then I need to just grab the criteria here. So the criteria for the name is going to be set here. Okay, and I'm going to do exactly the same stuff for the other criteria. So the other criteria is going to be the column D to grab the different kind of elements here. And now I just have to grab for the criteria here the list for the period of time. Okay, So now that should work well. For the moment is 0 because I got no criteria. So if I'm selecting, for example, Pauline, I have to grab as low something specific like the period of time for the morning, and you can see that I got something here. I have put something as low a little bit different into it. Don't worry about it seems complex, but it's not actually. I'm just saying into this function, I'm just gonna put that in a different color in order for you to be able to see it. And you can have as low the corrected version onto the platform. Just gonna set that as a formula. What I'm saying here is that if the criteria for the name in the list or the criteria for the period of time in the list are empty, I'm going to ask you to select the criteria for the name and the period of time. Okay, so that's the part of my true value if this one is empty or this one is empty. This is why I use the OR. And in the false value, I'm going to grab the total sale for the criteria that you choose, like for Pauline, during the morning period of time. This is why you get something like this, total sale for Pauline during the morning. If I'm changing this for evening, for example, it changed as low this way. So that's going to validate the fact that you have the right criteria here. But mainly for the sum if function we are done. I'm just going to change that to currency. So you can see that the sum if function has got some multiple criteria into it, and it's more flexible because you can still just use one criteria or multiple criteria if you want to do that way. That's the end for this video.